Oh, there's a little one too. I didn't meet the little one. All right, then, let's start. We have scheduled for ourselves a reading and discussion from the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, that wonderful text which gives us both the Sri Ramakrishna's teachings for spiritual life and also places him in context. We can actually think about him, how he used to live, how he used to interact, how he used to walk and sing and dance and meditate and all of that. So these beautiful descriptions given of Sri Ramakrishna. So we can place ourselves in Dakshineshwar today, because that's where the reading is, and feel that we are sitting in the room also, and we are enjoying his company along with the other devotees. And we're going to continue from last week's study, which is Sri Ramakrishna's birthday. They're celebrating his birthday on February 22nd, Sunday, February 22nd, 1885. So this is the second to last birthday he had. He was not yet suffering from illness, but it's coming soon. That's the very bittersweet story of Sri Ramakrishna's life. Right, we finished at about top of 695 is where we stopped. So, huh? No, it should be the same. Yeah, 695. Om Tava Kathamritam Tapta Jivanam Kavibhiriditam Kalmashapaham Shravana Mangalam Srimadatam Bhuvigranamti Bhuridajanaha. O Lord, your words are like nectar, bringing us to immortality, saving us who are burning in the world. And just to hear about you, to hear your teachings is itself so auspicious. Those who spread your teachings far and wide are the true benefactors of humanity. Okay, so we have Sri Ramakrishna's birthday. It's February 22nd. The room is full of devotees. There's already been quite a bit of singing. Narendra was singing. He sang that beautiful song, "In dense darkness, O Mother, thy formless beauty sparkles." And Sri Ramakrishna entered into deep samadhi. And then there's a lot of chit-chat. There's some poking at Hazra. And Girish is there. Narendra is there. Manilal Malik is there. And then Narendra is going to sing, and he takes down the tanpura, and he spent a long time tuning it. And finally, it's ready, and he sings. And the first song he sings was at the bottom of 694. O Mother, thou my inner guide, ever awake within my heart. Day and night thou holdest me in thy lap. Why dost thou show such tenderness to this unworthy child of thine? Let's see if we can find the... Antare Jagiche Oma Antarjami. So it's a beautiful song. Maybe one of you can grab the Bengali songbook and look up the author. Who is the author of this song? While we're reading, you're going to be looking that up for us. Antare Jagicho. Ontari Jagicho. Okay, so this beautiful song, Mother as the inner guide. Sometimes we think, oh, the songs, not, when I first started reading Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, sometimes I would get bored of the songs. I would read them, I would skip them sometimes, songs, there were so many, they're the same songs. But actually there's profound truth embedded in these songs also. And Sri Ramakrishna often used the songs to teach. So he used them, of course, here he's not singing, it's Narendra who's singing, but Sri Ramakrishna would use the songs as a teaching tool, driving the ideas in the song deeply into the hearts of the listeners. It enters in a different way when it's sung, and if it's sung together, those refrains will come back to us. If we've heard, oh thou my inner guide, you got it? Where? Okay, so this is also a song, you could have just told me, this is also a song by Trailokyanath Sanyal. This is, let's see, it's 1885. So by now, Narendra has broadened out past the Brahmo Samaj. Still, many of the songs that he knew by heart. And by the way, there was never a songbook in Sri Ramakrishna's room. It was never that, oh, let's sing. Okay, let me get the book. And then they would sing. No, they would know the songs. They would have learned it by heart, and then they would sing. And that's something that actually Swami Brahmananda was very particular about. Raja Maharaj, who's pictured there, he loved music. He was not a singer himself. At least we don't hear about him singing, but he loved to listen to spiritual songs. And he used to keep with him at least one or perhaps two disciples, monks typically, or other disciples who were good singers, so that he could ask them to sing, and the whole atmosphere of the room would be raised up. So from a distance, perhaps he could hear someone singing, and he would know if they were reading the song, if they hadn't memorized it. Why? Because you can't throw your whole heart into the song if you have to read while you're singing. Nowadays, because our memory is getting worse, because we have too many devices to help us remember things, so people are afraid to sing without the words. They're afraid, oh, what if I forget? And so they maybe mostly memorize, but now and then they'll peek. That's not bad. It's better than just reading and singing, like I do when we do the Ram Nam Sankirtan. I should have memorized it by now, but I still have to read it. But you can really throw your heart into the song when you know all the words, when you've memorized it fully and you know what the meaning of the words is, and then you just sing it from your heart, and then it reaches the ears of the divine. Of course, it always reaches the ears of the divine, but the more sincerity we can throw into it, the more deeply it lifts us and others. So this song, that the Divine Mother is the inner guide, the Antaryamin. She is the one who from within guides us with everything we do. And she, at the same time, she holds us in her lap. And this particular song expresses some feeling of unworthiness, that I am not even worthy for that tremendous grace. Trailokyanath, as I mentioned last time, he was a Brahmo and composed many songs. He was deeply influenced by Sri Ramakrishna. So many of his songs are tinged by the bhava, by the mood of Sri Ramakrishna. And this is another one of those. If I had a pencil, I'd note it. And then he sang a second song. O my lute of a single string, sing the blessed Mother's name, for she is the solace of my soul. Lute of a single string. Well, that's a poetic way of, well, it's aktar, they call it, or here in the song says akatontri. That's a kind of bowl instrument. The bowls and wandering minstrels of India, they would wander around with just a one string and they pluck it. And actually, I knew a kind of a bowl type devotee. I can't remember his name. It'll come to me, I think. He was actually Jewish originally, but he had fully embraced Hinduism and had roamed about India with the Vairagis and things like that. He lived with his wife in Boulder, Colorado. They called themselves ethnic Hindus. Hindus. And they had they had this shrine to their guru, not a well-known guru, but looks like a very a true guru, and various full shrine in their apartment, and every day they would do homa. What the homa that people do every day? The what do they call it? The something like sandhya. They would do long ones where they would do 108 oblations with Mahamrityunjaya mantra and groups chanting Om Trambakanyajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivarnam Urvarukimavandana Mrityor Mukshiyam Amritat Swaha 108 times. So it would take a long time. And then they would chant Rama's name. And he had an ektara. And really, if you know how to play it, it creates a wonderful mood and rhythm. And we got immersed in chanting the name of Rama. It was my first introduction to Sri Ram. Was in their little home, just chanting his name. So, oh my lute of a single string, sing the Blessed Mother's name, for she is the solace of my soul. Okay, now you've left the book here, so I have to look up the author of the song. Gaure Anandamayur Nam. Actually, it's not just the Blessed Mother's name, it's the all blissful Mother's name. And Sri Ramakrishna, one of the names that he particularly loved for Divine Mother is Anandamayi. She who is full of bliss, she whose very essence is infinite bliss. How amazing. It may not be here. Oh, there it is. Gaure Anandamayur Nam. And interestingly, this is in the section of the book called Nirakara Bhajan, means the hymns to the formless. So though it's the mother, it's the formless mother, the all blissful formless mother. And who is the composer? Same, Trilokinath Sanyal. He's also the composer. Oh, did you know that already? Your guest. So he's singing Trilokyas. And the third song, as we know, Nivida, Andhare Ma, in dense darkness, O Mother, thy formless beauty sparkles. Also a kind of formless song on the formless divine, but with personality. We can say personal, but without form. Swami Swahananji used to say, he had a kind of memorized, he told people so much, he would give these instructions, you know, there's the impersonal God, and then there's the personal God without form, and then there's the personal God with form. And he would delineate these three types of conceptions of the divine. Personal God with form, Shiva, Kali, Durga, like that, or Rama, Krishna, like that. Then personal God without form, like God of the Christians, God the Father, or Allah, or the Brahmo conception of God, or Ishvara. And then there's the impersonal absolute. So 3 songs of Trilokyas he sang today, this in the afternoon. And we can imagine, because Narendra had such a beautiful voice, that it was just everyone would have been transfixed by the music and would get absorbed into it. And Sri Ramakrishna, though he's sitting on his cot, you know, the Sri Ramakrishna's room, there are the 2 cots in the room, and the one that was slightly higher, slightly larger, was actually his sleeping cot. He would sleep there, and there was a mosquito curtain suspended above the bed probably, or else it might have been put away and they'd bring it out at night, I'm not sure. And if they were proper, they would keep it stored away somewhere during the day, and then at night it would be brought out. He would sleep, but he wouldn't sleep anyhow. He would sleep an hour or 2 at most. So, but anyhow, he did use a mosquito curtain, and then there's the smaller cot from which he would sit and meet people and talk. And now he comes down to the floor. He himself is sitting on the floor with everybody else, sitting right next to Narendra. And but he's in ecstasy. The music has put him in ecstasy, so he's not making much sense. He says, shall I sing Phi? Well, what on earth the Phi? He said, Gan Gaibo, tu. Tu, how would you translate tu? It's almost like a spitting sound, no? Like a tu. Shall I sing? Tu. And then to Nitya Gopal, what do you say? One should listen to singing to awaken the inner spirit. Nothing matters afterwards. So now what's the need of singing? The inner spirit has been awakened. He's in ecstasy. What need is there of a song? Then he said, he has kindled the fire. That is nice. Now all is silence. That's nice too. I am silent. You will be silent too. The thing is to dive into the elixir of bliss. It's one of the amazing things about Sri Ramakrishna that he was almost always seemingly in bliss or in a state of at least partial ecstasy. There was always this current of bliss flowing within him. Even when he was maybe worried about something, disturbed about something, Rakhal went to Vrindavan and fell ill, and Sri Ramakrishna was worried about him. But still, just a few notes of a song, and it would put him into that ecstasy. That bliss was always flowing. And the devotees were drawn to that, like bees drawn to a lotus, drinking that nectar of bliss. And now also we are drawn, whether we know it or not, I think we are drawn to Sri Ramakrishna to get a little taste at least of that bliss, a little taste if we can. But Sri Ramakrishna says that it's not enough to be satisfied with a little taste. We have to dive into the elixir of bliss. Ananda rase magna hawa niyakata. That's the essential thing, is to become magna hawa. Magna hawa doesn't exactly mean dive into it, actually, does it? It means more get absorbed, get fully absorbed in it. So sometimes the translation is not, it's good enough, but dive into the elixir. Actually, it is to get fully absorbed in it. Of course, he's talking to Nitya Gopal, so he's addressing him in the most informal, intimate way that in Bengali with tui. There's these three ways of addressing people. In European languages like French and Spanish, there are two. There's the informal and there's the more formal. In English, we just have you. It used to be that thee and thou was that more intimate form of address, and that you was the more formal. But that's Hindi also there are three, as in Bengali. Yes, just like in Bengali, in Hindi also there are three. I know that. I know that. There are more or less equivalent. Apni or ap, tumi or tum, and tui or tu. So it's more or less practically the same. Yes. It's actually very nice to see how Sri Ramakrishna speaks, because it connotes a tremendous affection and closeness when he's talking with the young ones, calling them tui. And to see who he calls as tui, whom he calls as tumi, practically he doesn't say apni to anyone, actually. Though every now and then he'll say apni, but then he'll use the verb form of tumi. So yeah, apni bhalo acho. Are you, something like that, which is, acho is the informal, tumi form, and apni, so he'll mix it up a little. When he's trying to use apni, he has difficulty. Maybe because he feels this deep connection with everybody. Everybody is actually his own. Everyone is a manifestation of the divine. So again he asks, shall I sing? Well, I may. Water is water, whether it is still or in waves. It doesn't necessarily make good sense, because he's he's in ecstasy. Whether he speaks or he is still silent, it doesn't really matter much, because he's in ecstasy. He's plunged in, he's getting immersed, he's getting merged in that elixir of bliss. So Narendra was seated near Sri Ramakrishna and was constantly worried about his financial difficulties at home. He was now 23 years old. Sri Ramakrishna looked at him intently. So we know that Narendranath's father died suddenly, and plunging his family into poverty. And whereas he was a big earner, he was an attorney, and he earned very well, but he also spent very liberally and actually had quite some debts which were not paid off. And suddenly that income completely stops, and the family was literally starving sometimes, no food. So Narendra was really worried. And at this time, he was looking for a job. Should he get a job? He is the oldest son. He has to support the family. He couldn't get a job. He was roamed around, applying at all kinds of different places. Eventually, he got a job for a while teaching. I think he taught in M's school. Is that right? And of M himself, Mahendranath Gupta, used to send money secretly to Narendranath's family without Narendra knowing about it. He used to send a little fund secretly. So M was also a tremendously important person in the whole Leela, in the whole play that unfolded. And helped the family. Afterwards, Narendra came to know, of course, but much later. So Sri Ramakrishna, smiling, says to Narendra, undoubtedly you are ka, but you have to worry about taxes. That's the trouble. And of course, by taxes, Sri Ramakrishna meant his financial difficulties. And he's referring to this, to Krishna Kishore, who was a devotee of Sri Ramakrishna. He's remembering that Krishna Kishore used to say that he was ka, means akasha. He's referring to the akasha, means he is the infinite. He was he fancied himself as somewhat of a jnani, Krishna Kishore. And Sri Ramakrishna also says, yes, he had the right to say so, because he was not a beginner in spiritual life. He was an advanced seeker, and used to say he was ka, but then the tax collectors came and said, hey, pay your taxes or we're going to take your pots and pans. And Krishna Kishore was troubled in mind about this, that, they're going to take my pots and pans. And Sri Ramakrishna poked him at that time, that I thought you were ka, why are you worried about taxes? And Krishna Kishore also, for a while, he got into a mood of divine madness, where he was chanting Om all the time and locked himself in the room. And his family called the doctor. And Krishna Kishore told the doctor, yes, doctor, cure me of my malady if you will, but not of my Om. So that's Krishna Kishore. Oh, here he's telling the whole story. One day I visited him at his home and found him worried. He wouldn't talk to me freely. I asked him, what's the matter? Why are you brooding like this? Krishna Kishore said, the tax collector came today. He said my pots and pans would be sold at auction if I didn't pay my taxes. That's what I am worrying about. I laughed and said, how is that? You are surely ka, the akasha. Let the rascals take away your pots and pans. What is that to you? To Narendra. So I am saying that you are ka. Why are you so worried? Don't you know that Sri Krishna said to Arjuna, if you have one of the 8 siddhis, you may get a little power, but you will not realize me. By siddhis, one may acquire powers, strength, money, and such things, but not God. This is one of the special emphases of Sri Ramakrishna's teaching, is no miracle mongering. He didn't like those siddhis, those miraculous, we call them miracles, no? Miraculous powers. manifesting something, or knowing what somebody's thinking, or correctly predicting the future, or all those things. He had those powers. And now and then you get a little hint of them, or somebody would, in the reminiscences that have been passed down, but he himself discounted them and said they're worthless. And he had a vision of their worth, a rather unpleasant sounding vision of how they're to be shunned, actually, these powers. And that's a big thing, especially in the Indian context, because if you go to India, and especially among the Babas, you know, the sadhus, the wandering monks who, they're expected to have some powers, and people go to them and give them money and things, and they want some blessing, they want some prediction, or they want some blessing that they'll be healed of an illness, or they'll get the job, or the son will be born to them. People go to the Babas, and the Babas also, they get some powers many times. They're quite austere, many of them, and they get some of these powers. Swami Satyamayananda told me an interesting story. You know Satyamayananda ji? He met some sadhus, I think it was in a train. Met some sadhus, and these Babas were complaining, you Ramakrishna mission sadhus, you don't have any powers. What is that? And Satyamayananda ji said very beautifully, he said, yes, but we have the power of purity. And the sadhus, they appreciated that. They liked that. They said, okay, yeah, we appreciate that. So that power we strive to cultivate, the power of purity, which is a tremendous power, of course. But we don't have these. And so that's really a twist, because it's really deeply ingrained in the Hindu psyche that, yes, with advanced spirituality comes also powers. Like Hazrat is the perfect example. He's always saying, yes, does God lack anything? When he grants you spiritual realization, he can also grant you money. Why not? He says, the God of wealth is his peon. Well, he can grant anything he wants. Why not? And Sri Ramakrishna would say, so this is a kind of a correction. That's why Swami Vivekananda would call him the establisher of dharma, because he's offering a correction. Yes, the tradition of Sanatana Dharma is profound and wonderful and has so many aspects and deep things, but there are also some confusions that, an emphasis on cooking, food, what to eat, what not to eat, or an emphasis on siddhis, getting these powers. So he's offering a timely correction. Tax, of course, is an English word. He would say, taxoala. The taxoala has come. So I just guessing that was the Akashavat. You are Akashavat. You are like the infinite sky, like infinite space. Why? What is that to you? So then Sri Ramakrishna goes on to tell Narendra, let me tell you something else. Go beyond knowledge and ignorance. People say that such and such a one is a jnani, but in reality it is not so. Vasishtha was a great jnani, but even he was stricken with grief on account of the death of his sons. At this, Lakshmana said to Rama, this is amazing, Rama. Even Vasishtha is so grief-stricken. Rama said, brother, he who has knowledge has ignorance as well. He who is aware of light is also aware of darkness. He who knows good also knows bad. He who knows happiness also knows misery. Brother, go beyond duality, beyond pleasure and pain, beyond knowledge and ignorance. To Narendra, so I am asking you to go beyond both knowledge and ignorance. That's a tall order for us, a very tall order to go beyond both. These are the dvandvas. And Sri Ramakrishna comes back to this often. There's that famous prayer that he offered to Divine Mother. which there's two main prayers that he shares with us. One is that prayer of, oh, I throw myself on thy mercy. I take refuge at thy hallowed feet. I don't want anything but love. Only give me bhakti. The other one is also a prayer for bhakti. But it is offering the mother all the dvandvas, all the pairs of opposites. Mother, here is thy good. Mother, here is thy evil. Take them both. I don't want them, mother. Grant me only bhakti. Grant me only pure love for you. Mother, here is my virtue, and here is my sin. Take them both, mother. I don't want them. Please just grant me pure love. Here is your knowledge. Here is your ignorance. I don't want either, mother. I just want pure love. Of course, there he does say that he couldn't say, here is thy truth and here is thy falsehood. Because if he offered if he surrendered truth, then how could his words be true? So he couldn't surrender truth. But he surrendered everything else. Go beyond these pairs of opposites. And we find that in this world, mostly everything, we do find these pairs of opposites. If you find something good, you'll see also something wicked. And Swami Vivekananda discusses this more extensively. He says, actually, they're not two separate things. They're two sides of one coin. And to find something absolutely perfectly good that doesn't have any evil, even a little bit of evil in it, is practically impossible. And similarly, to find a wicked deed that has no redeeming aspect to it at all, also very difficult. They're actually, it's just a continuum of and when we look at the two ends of the spectrum, then we say it's like two sides of a coin. But actually, we have to go beyond. So Sri Ramakrishna tells him, go beyond knowledge and ignorance. And as if it were so easy to do. Jnana ajnanir par. Go beyond both jnana and ajnana, knowledge and ignorance. To know something is, if we know things, we know many things, we also don't know many things. To go beyond means, of course, to attain the true jnana, or Sri Ramakrishna would call it vijnana, when you know directly, realize directly your own true nature as infinite consciousness, as the reality. That is the true jnana, or the vijnana. And to see that everything is but a manifestation of that. Sri Ramakrishna went back to his small couch. The devotees were seated on the floor. Surendra sat by his side. The master cast an affectionate look on him and began to give him advice. Does that mean that he sat on the cot itself? It doesn't say exactly, but... Oh, does it say? Yeah? Yeah. No. Surendra. Surendra is sitting by his side. But whether Surendra is sitting by his side on the cot or sitting by his side on the floor, it's not indicated. Now and then he would invite a devotee to sit next to him on the cot itself. It doesn't say here. Just that Surendra is sitting nearby. Come here every now and then. Nangta used to say that a brass pot must be polished every day, otherwise it gets stained. One should constantly live in company of holy people. Nangta. What did I say? Nangta. Okay, yeah. Nangta, the naked one. That is, of course, Totapuri, the sannyasin who was Sri Ramakrishna's Advaita Vedanta teacher, and who also ordained him into sannyasa, though he didn't get a new name, but he became a sannyasin, he became a Swami, though he didn't make any outward show of it at all, because he never wore a cloth, he always wore a white cloth. almost always wore a white cloth. So Nangta used to refer to him as Nangta, the naked one. He used to say that a brass pot must be polished every day. So that's why every day we do spiritual practice, we do meditation, we do prayer, we keep holy company. That's polishing the brass pot, because we know from our personal experience here in the shrine, all these copper and brass vessels, if we don't polish them regularly, they get black spots. So Nangta used to advise Sri Ramakrishna like that, but Sri Ramakrishna also had a reply. What was it? Huh? Gold. What if the pot is made of gold? Then it won't tarnish. That was his answer. Of course, referring to himself. He had gone beyond. He had attained that level of perfection where there's no longer any possibility of the pot getting stained. But he's telling Surendra, come here every now and then. And we also should do that. We also should come to Sri Ramakrishna every now and then. Actually, every day we come and polish our pot, which is our mind, because it gets stained. So then he says, the renunciation of lust and gold is for sannyasis. It is not for you. Now and then you should go into solitude and call on God with a yearning heart. Your renunciation should be mental. So Ramakrishna, this was one of his special teachings. Call on God in solitude. Go now and then, keep holy company, cultivate the company of other devotees, of saints if you can find them. They don't grow on trees. And sometimes it turns out that if there are too many people proclaiming someone to be a saint, probably they're not. But anyhow, who knows? Mother knows. And now and then, go somewhere alone, just you and God, and call on God with longing. And renunciation. We cannot deny that Sri Ramakrishna also emphasized vairagya, renunciation. For monks, of course, external renunciation. For people who are not monks, who are not called to that life, mental renunciation. And now the monks, at least the monks of the order, we also, not that we own things, and yet we have to look after monasteries and temples and all of that, and puja implements and all those things. So we also have to practice mental renunciation to a certain extent, not entirely external. If it was entirely external renunciation, maybe I'll just go wandering from door to door, have my food, or sleep under a tree. I'm not ready for that one. That would be tough. Unless a devotee is of the heroic type, he cannot pay attention to both God and the world. King Janaka lived a householder's life only after attaining perfection through austerity and prayer. He fenced with two swords, the one of knowledge and the other of action. So then he sang this song, this very world is a mansion of mirth. Here I can eat, here drink and make merry. Janaka's might was unsurpassed. What did he lack of the world or the spirit? Holding to one as well as the other, he drank his milk from a brimming cup. So you know the story behind this song. It was actually composed by a contemporary of Ram Prasad, I believe, as a kind of humorous rejoinder to one of Ram Prasad's songs, where he describes the world in the song as a framework of illusion. And this devotee composed a somewhat humorous song in the same melody, same kind of style, but with completely the opposite message. A kind of a parody, yes, kind of a parody. This very world is a mansion of mirth. Now let's see. Ei Shangshar Majar Kuti. Ami Kai Dai Ar Maja Luti. So it's, I mean, it's, you can hear from the Bengali, even if you don't know Bengali, you can understand it's a kind of a joking song. But but Sri Ramakrishna often used to, he liked this song. He said, if God has become everything, then yes, we can taste the joy of life. And then he says, for you, as Chaitanya said, the disciplines to be practiced are kindness to living beings, service to the devotees, and chanting the name of God. Okay, the devotees. Jibe Daya, Bhakta Sheva, or Nam Sankirtan. These are the compassion to living beings, service to the devotees, and chanting the name of God. Sankirtan means out loud. Perhaps Surendra was a Vaishnava. Must be he was a Vaishnava. Why Sri Ramakrishna is? But actually, Surendra is a devotee of Divine Mother, so that's quite all right also. Why do I say all this to you? You work in a merchant's office. I say this to you because you have many duties to perform there. You tell lies at the office. Then why do I eat the food you offer me? Because you give your money in charity. You give away more than you earn. The seed of the melon is bigger than the fruit, as the saying goes. I cannot eat anything offered by miserly people. Their wealth is squandered in these ways. First, litigation. Second, thieves and robbers. Third, physicians. Fourth, their wicked children's extravagance. It is like that. We see the same thing nowadays, no? You can think of some of the wealthy people. They're always involved in some lawsuit or other. And who benefits actually is the lawyers. Who keep on going back and forth and extending things and the pay and pay and pay. So litigation, thieves and robbers, physicians, and their wicked children's extravagance. Oh dear. Interestingly though, Sri Ramakrishna ordinarily, he couldn't eat the food offered by people who are involved in questionable activities. Who tell lies, who are untruthful. And yet Surendra, he knows that Surendra tells lies at the office. How does he know? Because he could just know that looking at someone. He could see their mind. So he knows he tells lies, but he is also very generous. Surendra is very generous. I don't know how it's possible to give away more than you earn. Huh? It's not possible to give away more than you earn unless you have a big stock somewhere and you're drawing on the stock. Otherwise, how do you give away more than you earn? I don't know. But the seed of the melon is bigger than the fruit. It's a nice saying that obviously because the seed sprouts into a plant and many melons will come out of that plant. So he's going to give a little commentary on charity, and let's read that. Then we can conclude. Your giving money away in charity is very good. Those who have money should give in charity. The miser's wealth is spirited away, but the money of the charitable person is saved. Okay, spirited away here he means it somehow disappears in spite of himself, I guess, right? What does it say in Bengali? Ure jai, it flows away, right? Ure jai, how would you say that? It flies away. So spirited away, that's not quite a clear translation. It flies, the miser's wealth flies away. And the generous person's wealth is protected. And goes for it goes for good for good work, for holy purposes. We spend it for a righteous person. The money of the charitable person is saved. He spends it for a righteous purpose. At Kamalpoko, now he gives this interesting parable, or not exactly parable, it's a kind of simile. What? Anecdote. At Kamalpoko, I have seen the farmers cutting channels to irrigate their fields. Sometimes the water rushes in with such force that the ridges around the fields are washed away and the crops destroyed. For this reason, the farmers make holes here and there in the ridges. Since the water escapes through the holes, the ridges are not destroyed by the rush of the water. Furthermore, the escaping water deposits soft clay in the fields, which increases their fertility and gives a richer crop. He who gives away in charity achieves great results. He achieves the four fruits: dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. The devotees listened with great attention to Sri Ramakrishna's words. Interesting. I was trying to understand how that actually works. If the charity is like making holes in the ridge, so you're not trying to keep everything. If you try to keep everything, actually things get destroyed. So if you try to save all your money, you're going to run into trouble. Rather, give the money, and then it actually makes the fields fertile, and you reap a rich harvest. So the harvest of dharma, artha, kama, moksha, that righteousness, wealth, get your desires fulfilled, and ultimately attain liberation. And so we'll stop there, but let's close with this last point that Surendra says, I cannot meditate well. I repeat the Divine Mother's name now and then. Lying in bed, I repeat her name and fall asleep. Sri Ramakrishna, that is enough. You remember her, don't you? Okay, that's a good place to stop. That is enough for Surendra, because he's a disciple of Sri Ramakrishna. He has Sri Ramakrishna's blessings. He has nothing to worry about. For us, maybe it's not enough. We should now and then repeating Mother's name. We should repeat Mother's name all the time, if we can. But he lies down and repeats Mother's name and falls asleep. That is very good. That's a beautiful practice too. Fall asleep repeating the Divine Mother's name, or repeating the holy name. It is said that what remains in the mind when one falls asleep goes deeper. It goes deeper into the subconscious. So that's a beautiful practice to take that up. Any questions, comments? Please. That's a very nice point. I think, of course, in general, the idea of charity is not restricted to money at all. In this case, Sri Ramakrishna seems to be specifically emphasizing money, probably because he has a room full of householders, all of whom are many of whom are well-to-do, at least fairly well-to-do, or perhaps quite well-to-do. So, and some of them tell lies at the office in order to make more money. So it seems like he's specifically talking about money in this case. And yet, of course, you're absolutely right. Charity is not restricted to giving money, but giving blood is in fact a tremendous sacrifice. That's a beautiful kind of charity, literally sacrificing your blood for others. And of course, there's charity in the form of service. Those who perhaps don't have a lot of money, but they can go and volunteer, help a friend in need, help a poor person in need, maybe offer a free class in whatever they know about at the local community college or whatever. Oh, so many. Local Vedanta society, probably. A very nice point. Well, if I knew, would have explained it more clearly. I tried to suggest that uh, knowledge uh, of course, jnana usually refers to knowledge of the divine, to attain atma jnana, to know that I am not this body, I am not this mind, I am the Atman, the self, which is of the nature of Sat, Chit, and Ananda. But Sri Ramakrishna describes this Vashishta, this great sage, the teacher of Rama, who wept at the death of his son. And then Lakshmana was so astounded. How can he be weeping? Well, because he still has ignorance, because he has knowledge, he also has ignorance. He knows many things. It means he also doesn't know many things. And he grieves at the death of his son. So go beyond both knowledge and ignorance. But it's not an entirely satisfying, because Sri Ramakrishna himself grieved when close people died. His nephew, and then again Keshav Sen, and others of his disciples who died, he grieved. So grieving is a normal human emotion. It's not that one goes beyond, one should deny grief. If one has a human heart, one will grieve. But that's a whole topic in itself, I think. Ramakrishna, how did Sri Ramakrishna handle grief? He was paralyzed for 3 days in bed after Keshav left the body. But then see him now. He's not paralyzed now. After that, he got up and went on and continued his ministry and his training of his disciples, and etc., etc. So. Mm. Duryananda. You rascal, you found me out. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, it's hard to understand it, because we haven't attained to that level of because obviously the pain would have been there. He found it hard to talk. Why? Because there's pain. So as long as he's functioning through the body experiences its pain. But then there's a part of him that's immersed in infinite bliss, of course. When Hari Maharaj pointed that out, he said, you found me out, you rascal. Go beyond the 3 gunas, yes. Well, the Sri Ramakrishna tells the story of the 3 robbers, right? Tamas, Rajas, and Tattva, and we have to go beyond them. Yes, true. How to do it? Well, we're not there yet. Our job is to attain to Sattva, to purify ourselves, to attain to a sattvic state. Then from there we go beyond even Sattva to the infinite, immersing ourselves in the elixir of bliss, as Sri Ramakrishna told us at the beginning. So I'm going to go now to the next door, to the Gurudwara, because one of our devotees is having a function, he's sponsoring a